Well, bizarrely, England aren't mathematically yet out of the World Cup, but they could be by the time they take on Australia on Saturday in Ahmedabad if results today and tomorrow don't go their way. Eoin and Michael are alongside me. What have they got to play for, realistically?
Well, they've got plenty to play for, just not in this competition, but it emerged during the last game against India about qualification for the Champions Trophy, for example, which is scheduled to be in early 25 in Pakistan. Top 7 teams and the hosts, who are Pakistan, are the only ones who will play in that Champions Trophy. England currently 10, so that's something to play for. Obviously, players will be feeling the pressure, given that everybody who was on the park against India was 30 years of age or older. They'll be feeling that they've got their careers to play for over the next year or so. And clearly there's pressure on the captain and coach, given how poorly this tournament has gone. And the players will want to play for them. Well, one assumes they'll want to play for them if they want to keep the captain and coach in place.
Some of your comments have made headlines around the world since you returned from the UK. Not least today in the Telegraph, Nick Holt writing that perhaps you should take over.
Yeah, it's a bit far-fetched, but everybody's entitled to interpret my comments. I was very clear in what I thought might be a cause to the performance that the England team have produced throughout this World Cup, and simply, contributing factors to that surround it, because nobody in the change room, captain or coach, any of the players can explain the situation that they find themselves in. But I'm very happy and cemented, hopefully, in what I'm going to do for the future. I spend a lot of time at home now with my young family, which is great, and I love watching on. And I actually think, talk of replacing captain and coach is not a good idea at the moment, simply because of the high turnover of World Cups. They're double world champions for a reason. They're not a bad team by any stretch. Matthew Mott is going through his biggest challenge of his England coaching career at the moment, and it's one that he should be given time to put right, certainly towards the World Cup next year, the T20 World Cup in the Caribbean and the USA. But if the England team don't qualify for the Champions Trophy, the likes of Rob Key and the board at the England and Wales Cricket Board will come under increasing pressure surrounding his job.
What would you do for the next game then? Is it with an eye on the future? Do you play the youngsters? You mentioned players being over 30 in that last game. Brooke, Atkinson, Cass? Or do you try and stick with the plan that they've deviated from at times and keep it as it is?
Well, I always actually just have a very simple philosophy that you pick the team to win the match in front of you. Now, of course, people will have a different idea of what that best team is. Myself, I would have had Harry Brooke in every team selected so far in the World Cup. England haven't seen it that way, that's just the difference of opinion. But in terms of philosophy, strategy and principle, just pick the best 11 that you think are going to try and win this game against Australia. The moment you start thinking too far ahead in the future, I think you can get yourself into a muddle. It keeps it very simple just to say, let's pick the best 11 to try and win this game. Well,
as discussed, there's lots of motivating factors for England to cling on to, but not least, it's Australia. And Australia have actually found some form.
They have. They've been in brilliant form, and it's worked progressively. As World Cup campaigns go, it couldn't have gone any better since that game at the start of the tournament where they dropped 7 catches and put on a fielding display that was so uncharacteristic of an Australian ODI team. They're a side in fine form, runs at the top of the order from the likes of Warner. Travis Head has now come back in with a huge blow in the tournament. Maxwell in form, a really strong bowling lineup. It is going to be hard work again for England. And like we have mentioned numerous times, given that they've slipped up against sides that are ranked lower than them, now is actually the really tough time of the tournament, running into an in-form India and now an in-form Australian team.
Sounds like he's not going to do a Rob Key on us then. Disappear off into the ECB sunset. So that's good news for us, maybe not for England. They take on Australia in Ahmedabad on Saturday.